Hello and welcome to our first edition of the Good Vibrations podcast here for 2024. And I'm really delighted to be coming to you in this new format. As you can see, I'm at home in my home studio, so I'm just going to adjust my microphone just ever so slightly. Now I'm using my Angle Poise microphone because it just has that better quality of sound. So 2024, what is 2024 going to be for us, and how are we going to get through it? I feel a lot of people are still carrying some of that exhaustion from 2023. We're feeling a little bit of apathy and tiredness, but I think as the month goes through, we'll get into the groove, into the rhythm of 2024. And one of the really key things that I certainly have focused on in 2023 is that whole aspect of friendships. Who are my friends? What have they brought into my life? And for myself, I can honestly say I have three friends that have been in my life for quite some time, and they each bring something completely different, which is really exciting for me because it gives me that sort of well-balanced friendship base in my life, and I know who I can turn to for what, and I feel that's really special. One of my friends has given me a friendship um, diary, desk diary, if you will. So here it is, or a desk calendar. So I'm just holding up the camera. So it's fabulous friends, and there's a page for each month, each day of the month. And I thought throughout this year, rather than doing the tarot again, we're going to look at just human relationships and a little bit of self-reflection. Some of the sayings are actually really quite cool. So today's saying, which is for January the 12th, is you can be more than you thought possible, more than you ever thought possible. So we've got the ever in there. And as we sort of just take a pause there and just think about, well, what does that mean for me? This really resonates for me. Um, Having been someone at school who didn't excel, I wasn't a great student. I definitely lacked concentration. And with my dyslexia, my whole comprehension of just words was very different from other people's. So I really struggled with my exams. I struggled with my lessons. I just struggled. I just struggled with school. It wasn't really a great environment for me. And at the end of my secondary school, like all good children, or pupils, I should say, we go along to our careers officer hoping for some advice. And it's a really pivotal time transitioning from high school into the world or onto further education. And my careers advisor was a lovely lady, Mrs. Wilkinson. She was an older lady. And she just said, well, you're a waste of time. Why are you here? You're wasting my time. And I thought, wow, okay. And that was news to me. I didn't realize I was a waste of time. I didn't realize that I didn't have a future until she pointed that out. And it was one of those things, one of those events in my life that I've always remembered. And she was a great foil for me to actually make something of my life. You can be more than you ever thought possible. This phrase is amazing. I want you to think about this phrase. Think about yourself in reflection to that phrase and the people that you've had in your past who've said, well, you can't do this and don't do that and you shouldn't do that. Think about what that means for you. For me, I left there quite devastated, disillusioned, with a very grumpy mother who qualified what she had said and that it was a waste of time and I'd wasted her time, wasted Mrs. Wilkinson's time, wasted time. And I thought, wow, okay. So what does that leave, Phil? And I followed a path of becoming a nursery nurse assistant. And I really enjoyed working with children. And then I became a nanny for a doctor's family in St Andrews. And there were 5 children, 4 boys and 1 girl. So it was a busy, hectic household. And I have to say, the mother was a wonderful lady in that on my first day of being a nanny, she said, well, you're not going to be a nanny for all of your life. So let's get you educated. What would you like to be? And those are the courses we'll enroll you in. And she plonked me in the car, drove me to Dundee's Commercial College, or Tertiary College would be the technical name now. And yes, I enrolled in 5 or 6 different courses. She gave me the time off to attend the courses. I passed all my courses, and suddenly I was more than I thought was possible. I actually could educate myself, and I did know how to educate myself, and I did know how to learn. And I then came back to Aberdeen. So I didn't have a home, I didn't have a job, I just left and trotted back home. And I popped into a shop on George Street, sat down with the store manager and said, well, I can start on Monday. She said, that's great, just start on Monday. So at least I had a job. And I was in my retail role, the role that Mrs. Wilkinson had pinpointed for me back when I was 15 years old. Now, the key thing about myself is I am a really determined person. So I started as a sales assistant, and I then moved on to becoming a store manager for the store. And I landed up with a brand new store in the St. Nicholas Centre. And I always remember the first targets that I was given was £960,000, which in the 1990s was a vast amount of money. And we beat that target. I beat all my targets. I became manager of the year for Aberdeen, and I was then runner up in the national manager of the year competition. And it was one of those pivotal moments where I thought, yep, yes, I am maybe only good enough to work in retail, but at least I'm working at a really high level. At least I've outlived Mrs. Wilkinson's expectations, even my expectations. And my retail career just sort of kept rolling on. I became an area manager, then became a regional training officer, then became a national manager, covering vast aspects of Northern Ireland, Scotland, and the north of England. So, my area was geographically quite enormous. And in all of that, Mrs. Wilkinson just kept coming up, and I'm going, but I'm more than just retail. I love retail. I'm really good at retail. I've excelled at retail. This is where I feel at home, in retail. And I think for myself, I just had to prove that I could do this. In amongst all of that, I suppose, was then the self-education. I became someone who just constantly sought to learn more. So I got my business degree. I got my City and Guilds in management. I then passed my Learning and Development Officer certification and VCTC verifier up to level 3 with the Chartered Institute of Personal Development. I'm an associate member with them. And I've got my level 4 management skills here in New Zealand, branding management. So I don't think that we should stop at that full stop. When someone says to us, well, this is what you're going to be, or this is all you're good enough for, it's that full stop in your life. And we need to move that full stop. We need to take that full stop, and we need to bypass it, go left or right, whichever direction you want to go in. But always, as I always say in all of my courses, becoming the best version of yourself. I most certainly have become more than I ever thought was possible. From moving from Aberdeen down to St Andrews was massive for a 15-and-a-half-year-old person. It was just like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving home. Where am I going? What's it going to be like? To traveling around the UK, to then emigrating to New Zealand. It's one of those processes that once the ball starts rolling, you get sort of caught up in it, and you find the skills and the courage and the strength to sort of I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just sort of wrap yourself around that experience and really enjoy that experience, really find that experience deep within yourself that you can cope. So I would like you to really think about who you are going to be in 2024. I want you to think about what is best for you, because you might have people around you who are putting those full stops. And I think you are the master of yourself. You want to become the best version of yourself. So what do you need to learn? What do you need to bring in? Who do you need to involve? Or do you have a skill that you need to unveil, that you need to shine some light on, so that people get a true feeling of your essence and who you actually are as a person? I love the start of a new year. I love how we start with a clean slate and we can chalk up our successes and failures to the year before, the previous, but who we're going to be in the year to come. And this is a wonderful time and opportunity for you to really explore that. The whole essence of the Good Vibration podcast is to allow me to share my experiences, my thoughts, my feelings, and what I've come through. And I would hope that somehow that is relatable to you in your life, that you can come back and share those experiences with me here on the podcast, on YouTube or on Facebook. So I'm hoping that our journey as we go through 2024, and as I record a session of Good Vibrations every Friday, and as we work our way through this calendar and we think about those thoughts, those feelings, those sayings that have been put together on our behalf, I'm hoping that we really create this wonderful dialogue that that we can have online here in the here and now. So thank you for your time and your effort and your energy in listening to the very first podcast of 2024. And I look forward to sharing my thoughts every Friday in the Good Vibrations podcast slot. Until then, be really good to yourself, be kind to yourself, and see who you really are. You can be more than you ever thought possible. Just say that to yourself all weekend. Until the next time, bye for now.